A lot of people tell me all the time, what a cool industry you got into. Like, how did you get into this? What a life you have. But it's like, what they don't know is that 1,000 kilos is something, no matter how cool it looks, is still 1,000 kilos, and it's heavy. And moving it, it takes logistics. Selling it, just like every business, there's tons of competition. Never promise something you can't deliver. And, that is applicable to everyone in any industry. A lot of times we get these these plans in our head, and we don't communicate all the nuances of it to the parties involved, and that's when miscommunications happen, and that's when arguments start.
All right, so my name's Jovany, aka Mr. Roochii. I'm here with Mr. Kevin, and we're going to do an interview on his journey and success. So Kevin, to begin, for context, how did you get started?
I'm Kevin McLaughlin, and I have started 4 businesses in my history. I've had a number of side projects, and I currently have 1 active business and soon to be 2 active businesses going on. The business that I am actively in right now, I started with my mother 8 years ago. And it was just really by circumstance. I was in college at the time. My sister had dropped out of college for the second time, and my mom wanted to give her some, passion and purpose. So they went to a Tony Robbins seminar.
What? Seriously?
Yeah, and they walked across the cold.
How much was that? How much did that cost back then?
I have no clue. I imagine this roughly what it costs now.
Yeah.
It was definitely expensive, but
What year was this?
this would have been what, 8 years ago?
8 years ago. Okay. So 2016?
16.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, she came back from that Tony Robbins seminar, and she had seen a hole in the market for premium gemstone bracelets, semi-precious bracelets. And as a result, they went to the gem show the next year and bought a bunch of materials to start making jewelry. And that lasted about 3 months before my sister got bored. Decided she wanted to do something else.
And at this point, you weren't involved yet?
No, I was not involved at all.
What were you doing?
I was just being a college student.
Okay.
Going to college.
Yeah, living thug life. Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Learning things and stuff. And my mom had been working as a director for Oracle, the software company.
Okay.
They shut her division down, so she opted in for a severance package. So she was going through a lot of change right then. So I kind of felt obligated to step in and sell the materials that they had bought and help her out with that.
How much material was it that?
She had spent probably about $5,000 on some beads.
Okay. For just getting your feet wet, that's a good investment.
Yeah, well, and just in general, it was on beads.
Okay.
No. My thoughts were, I got to help my mom out, and we were going to small craft shows, and I was having little old ladies give me bags of chain for bracelets.
So these shows, what gave you the idea to go to these shows? Like, what gave you the idea, and how did you find them?
I mean, so that had been the model that my mom and sister had started. So it wasn't per se that I decided that was the channel we were going to pursue. But I would say it's a common way that a lot of small, craftier businesses get started is through, the craft shows. A lot of little old ladies, and I take that back. Actually, it's a wide range and mix of people, but one thing for sure is that if they stay in the circuits and continue, they're hard workers, because it's smaller scale, but you're setting up and breaking down a brick and mortar every weekend. Every weekend I have to go through and do new merchandising and change everything that, when I had a brick and mortar, those were things that I did at the beginning of the brick and mortar, and then they just needed to be restocked. It's not, kind of the pop-up industry is definitely a unique one. But with that comes less overhead. So,
Yes, yes.
that's where we were able to really, I think thrive over the years more so than other businesses, is that all of our overhead was very much managed.
Mm.
Our what would in theory be our rent was, more so the show costs or the cost of the events that we were going to. And, we didn't have to do marketing to the people to get them to buy our products, because that's what we were paying the show companies to do.
Yeah, so you're just buying a booth.
Yeah, we're buying the booth
Okay.
and they're marketing to get the people there. So then, the strategy was, how do you stand out amongst the, some of the shows that we do have.
Stand out between all the booths?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. So a lot of shows that we do,
So how do you stand out?
well, over the years, we've learned a few tricks. I would say the big thing is, having a good product.
Okay.
I've done products and services in my career, and I'll go into more detail some of my other businesses that I've done and
All right.
closed or sold.
You started out to help your mother out, and it started going well. The strategy was already there. You just came in and took over.
I mean,
But
strategy is relative.
yeah, but here's the thing. So even though the event is doing the marketing to get people there, at the end of the day, you still have to close a sale. So I want to dive into that. Did you have any prior experience? Did you learn anything at school? Was there a prior job that kind of like helped you build the building blocks for this career? Or did you learn on the job and kind of tweak it as you went? Well, let's walk through that process.
I mean, I have strived not to have a corporate job, even though that doesn't mean that I'm not hardworking.
Uh-huh.
I started working when I was 14 years old at a Philly cheesesteak restaurant,
Okay.
cutting fries and cleaning fryers and floors and dishes and, windows. So no, there wasn't, prior experience that, aligned me for this. I mean, even college more so, my degree wasn't entirely business, or I mean, it was business oriented, and I got a marketing minor, but it was more so on, sustainability with corporations. And that college didn't even per se prepare me for the life of an entrepreneur. But what it did do is it taught me how to connect with people, how to talk, and
So college taught you how to connect with people.
connect with people and speak,
How? How?
speak
Like,
with.
was there like a specific moment or consecutive events? Like,
I mean,
can you give us an example? One example?
my vocabulary became more refined when I had to make higher level papers.
Of course,
Even though
yes.
I'm not I don't even know if I could write an essay anymore, but I sure kept.
Muscle memory, muscle memory. You'll get
Yeah,
back
yeah,
into
no,
it.
definitely. I mean, but I like to think of my brain as a computer. There's only so much RAM, and you got to delete some.
Oh, yes,
You got to
yes.
control, delete some
Put
of
it in the
some
SSD
info.
card.
But yeah, so I mean, that's one example. Another example was, there was some business classes that I did take that taught me how to, before I ever start a side project or whenever I'm thinking of a new product line I want to add to my business, or, a new, supplementary service when I had my print shop, or, even if it's a new channel or a new marketing strategy. It helped me. What are the basics? How much is this going to cost? How much, what is your burn rate? How much in that first, a lot of side projects become very less appealing the second you break it down into mathematics. And, and that's where a big thing, I like the services model. A lot of times, depending on the industry, when I was doing the print shop, our services required us to have big printers.
Yes,
Like you're
yes.
like what's behind you right now.
Yeah.
So that required a physical location.
Looks
Or
dangerous actually. Am I
required
safe behind there?
you're safe. You're very much safe. But it required space and technical knowledge and things like that. While there's other industries that really are, like my friend who runs Airbnbs, he's more or less, he has this knowledge. He can work remotely for the most part, except for, checking in guests, but you know, he can have, the cleaning services automated. He can have the listings renewals and price changing set on a dynamic scale.
Yeah.
He can automate a lot of these things that you just can't automate when it comes to a good. It's
So basically, college just gave you the basic fundamentals. It expanded your vocabulary to be able to articulate and communicate with people. It
mhm.
also gave you the ability to assess a venture, right? So you talk about numbers. You want to know your burn rate. When are you going to break even? Your cost of startup. Where how much money is being allocated to marketing, staff, inventory. So that's what you're speaking about, right? Just
Yeah.
basic fundamentals to get you going.
Well, and like I said, that can, doing those things all of a sudden can turn, a failed project. I can stop a failed project before it even begins.
Yes,
Because there's
exactly.
a lot of times, rocks. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but rocks and jewelry is the majority of what I sell in my various businesses that I've done and continue to do. And a lot of people tell me all the time, "What a cool industry you got into! Like, how did you get into this? Like, what a life you have!" But it's like what they don't know is that
Let's hear what they don't
a
know.
1,000 kilos is something. No matter how cool it looks, is still 1,000 kilos, and it's heavy, and it takes logistics moving it. It takes logistics selling it. Just like every business, there's tons of competition, but other industries seem to have a little more. There when I had a business that I was importing crystals or semi-precious crystals and minerals from Brazil, and we were getting beautiful, beautiful inventory, but there are so many Brazilians selling the same material at all of the major wholesale shows. It's a race to the bottom.
So going back to your start, you started with your mother. The college gave you the soft skills or the fundamentals.
Hmm.
And so what progressed after that? So you're doing events, correct?
Hmm.
Um, what what progressed after that?
You
I'm
know,
assuming it was successful every event because you kept going.
yeah. So I had mentioned that she had lost her job and she had to. I felt an obligation to sell the inventory. So once we did sell the inventory, you know, it felt good. We made some profit. Like we didn't just cover our costs, but we made money. It wasn't a lot
You
at
got
that
that
time.
instant gratification.
Wasn't a lot at that time,
Yeah.
but she still was doing consulting work then, and then she eventually worked for the National Renewable Energy Labs. So, she had a full-time job. I had school at the beginning that, took up a lot of my time at the business, but
You were
then
still going to school at the same time of doing
yes,
this?
yeah.
Okay.
I was still going to school when we started it, and then I graduated in 2018. So 2 years of the business, I was still in school, and then
Where'd you graduate from?
Metropolitan State University
Okay.
here in Denver. So then I started a print shop right after I got out of college with a
Okay.
friend, with a
So
connect.
basically the gyms was a side thing that you were doing through college.
Yeah, just the events. It just was, you know,
I'm assuming it was
it
fun.
was beer money for me.
Yeah, it was fun, right?
It was,
Yeah.
massage and nails for my mom, and
Okay.
but then it grew and it kept growing, and it still stayed. We were able to facilitate it in a time capacity that was equivalent to a side project with more revenue, or with enough revenue to support a full, some people's full-time, careers. But then, just with anything, the more we scaled, the more logistics that became part of the process.
Well, you said you started a print shop after college. So you started a print shop. So I'm assuming the gem business uh, hadn't really taken off yet, or how does that work in relative to the print shop?
I would say at that time we were making, I think, $120,000 in revenue per year. I mean, gross.
100,000?
Yeah,
Okay.
about 120,000 gross. I
Yeah,
mean,
but you're only doing a couple events a month, right?
yeah, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
mean,
So it's not like you're slaving away 80 hours a week.
yeah. And even now, when you say a couple events a month, there's 54 weeks in a year. So that'd be 27 if you did 2 weekends or
Yeah.
2 events a month. We're doing 30 this year, and
They're already booked out?
yeah, I mean, I know my schedule.
Oh, okay.
Uh, but
So you're not going to Thailand anytime soon.
well, I mean, I am too. I mean, that's the balance,
For those who don't know, Kevin and I met on an airplane, and he actually got bumped from his seat because he was courteous to a couple, right? It was a couple.
Yeah, I was letting someone sit with their family, and then
Uh-huh.
I ended up in a middle seat next to this guy.
Yes, yes. And naturally, all I want to talk about is just business. And, so we started talking about business. He tells me about his, I tell him about mine, I tell him about what we're going to go do. I'm visiting a girlfriend, stuff like that. And it just clicked it off. Just met up in Thailand, in Phuket. We partied in Japan on the airplane. So it was quite an eventful couple weeks that we had.
It was a good old time. But no, I'm able to do, I went through a phase where I was doing a lot of traveling here recently, and I still love traveling and still want to. But, when you commit to something, you really got to commit to it, is one of the hard lessons I've learned. So, I had this, the business with my mom that I've talked about, Harton Creations. And I had started my print shop, and then I got even more
So wait,
grandiose.
let's follow the chronological of events, and then we'll dive more into the strategies of each thing, right? So you mentioned a print shop. Why a print shop? Like how did that come to be?
So COVID happened.
Okay.
Um,
So now we're in 2019.
so yeah, 2020.
Okay.
So they just done the lockdown, and all my events were just canceled all of a sudden.
Oh my God.
So that was
Yes.
so all of a sudden I got all this time on my hand, and I had a business associate that did our printing and everything. He lets me in on this deal for this this suite of machines that we could get for super cheap, just because if you don't know the print industry, stay away from it. Constantly,
Let me override that. Stay away from every business because it's always gonna be a Pandora box of disasters. But go ahead.
But there's only so many industries where you can buy a $20,000 new printer, and a year later it's worth 500, on the open, the used market. It's technical, it's competitive, extremely competitive, and it's largely getting dominated by the big guys.
Minutemen?
Well, I mean, those in your
Vista?
I mean, Vista,
Can't-
or like I'm trying to think, what is it, 1 Hour Prints, or any of those that you just listed.
Yeah.
What they do, a lot of these print companies now, is they're a big national brand that puts all their money into marketing and
Yeah.
SEO. So then they're able to get all the clients, and then they sub to smaller print shops. So then they're able to, they just are facilitators. It's like the 1-800.
They have no overhead.
It's the 1-800 Flowers.
Yeah, they have no overhead.
But that's, if you want to be a small print shop, that's who you're competing with. And
Yeah.
I would say the medium ones are the medium to large shops are who they're subbing to, these big national brands. And then, so it was, it was good. Yeah, it's not like I didn't make money from it. It's not like I regret my time in that industry at all. It was a very difficult one.
If you could name five, like what lessons that you learned in business, that you could apply either with printing or universally in any business. So what did you learn from that business? Because you had to learn something, take away something from that you could
Yeah.
use today.
I mean, for me, one of the biggest pain points I had was never promise something you can't deliver. And, that is applicable to everyone in any industry, but, more so with printing, it was all right, all of a sudden, the printer is down and I can't deliver that job anymore.
Yeah.
I physically and it's impossible for me to deliver that
Yeah.
to you.
I got a story I just dealt with this weekend in Minneapolis, Minnesota about that. How did you say it again? Don't
Don't,
promise something you can't deliver.
yeah.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I had ADHD or something and thought I could make money in a different type of business and went out of my industry. So I bought box trucks. But long story short, I'm selling my box trucks and I have a buyer in Minneapolis, Minnesota, because that's where I had them working. I'm out of Denver, Colorado. That's where Roochii Cleanings is based out of. But we had our trucking company out there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So it came to the point where it was just taking too much of my time and resources. It just really wasn't worth it. So the hard lesson that I learned over that year is that the most valuable thing you have is your time, right? Because you only have a certain a lot of time in a day. And, where I'm spending time, it's not in course with my strategic plan. So it's kind of stealing my time, which is very valuable. So that's one of the reasons why I was getting rid of the trucks. But anyways, so I was using this third party service called Key Savvy. They're an escrow service and they basically facilitate the sale of the transaction because I'm a private party. Well, anyways, they promised they could do the transaction in the most 2 days. And every day I thought that the transaction was going to go through. So I would check out of my hotel and then kick it in a Starbucks or Panera Bread all day long on my computer, trying to stay busy, but at the same time had my mind on that and checking the app and seeing if everything was going to go through. And the loan, it was structured differently. It was 2 trucks on one loan, and they knew that from the beginning. And then they made me wait 8 hours at the end of the day to tell me they can't do the transaction unless the payoff is split into 2 separate and assigned per VIN number, right? And I was just furious. I was like, you knew from the beginning that it was 1 loan, 2 trucks, and you wait all day to tell me this? And I'm already on the 2nd day. So then on the 3rd day, we waited again, and the banks took forever to do the verifications and they took forever to do paperwork. So then we're on the 4th day, and then now it's all about the paperwork, DMV stuff, title transfer, bill of sale, and they took forever, right? So the day prior, they wanted authorization that I had authority to sell the trucks. So I'm like, well, I could give you my operating agreement. And they said, okay, great, boom, they accepted it. So they lost it, and then on the 4th day, that's what they were waiting on. And then by the end of the day, because I didn't want to bug them, and I was trying to be patient, so I contacted them. They're like, oh yeah, we need authorization. Furious, because I have a flight booked on the 4th day already. I'm trying to get out of there and go home, because I got to go back to Thailand on Sunday. I had to cancel my flight. I had to cancel 2 flights that day. It was just a messed up day, but you're just furious. This is what you've been waiting on. I submitted this yesterday. Why didn't you? So I submitted it, and then they closed everything. So it took 4 days. But the moral of the story is my expectations were 2 days, and that's where I had my bullseye at, right? Just 2 days. However, they took much longer, and because of my situation, it was kind of it was a detriment to my situation, what I had going on. Now, if they would have said it's going to take 4 days or whatever, then I would have my mind set on 4 days and be like, okay, cool, 4 days, I have it planned. I'm going to book my hotel for 4 days and stuff like that. So that is very, very important I was on the verge of leaving them a bad review, but I'm such a nice guy, decided not to.
No.
But
Well, I mean, and small things can have a big impact on someone else's life.
you don't know what's going on.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you had to stay 2 extra days because of a simple, I mean, I guess you could bring it up to sales or just either way, they like we were talking about, they offered a service that they couldn't perform.
They made a promise they couldn't.
Yeah, they made a promise they couldn't deliver.
Yes.
And, because of that, your life was changed for 2 days. You had to, it was a major impact.
Major pain and suffering.
Well, when I had my print shop,
Yeah.
someone didn't get their marketing materials for their big pitch meeting.
Oh my God.
Day round.
Yeah.
Just, their event now just had no marketing or it doesn't matter what the circumstance is just don't small or big, don't promise something you can't deliver.
Gotcha.
You physically can't deliver yourself. And that's, I was never meant to be the technical partner when I came into that print shop. But through making promises to people to get sales and then, not being able to rely on my partner, I had to go in and I had to do all, the whole run of operations, even though I wasn't comfortable at the start. And, I slowly got better and better.
What's number 2? The valuable lesson.
Second golden rule, clear expectations. I think it kind of goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about, but more so, if you didn't bring it up, how can you be mad at someone for not? A lot of times we get these these plans in our head and we don't communicate all the nuances of it to the parties involved, and that's when miscommunications happen, and that's when arguments start, and that's when the dominoes start to fall. For your project.
In my company, I'm real big on communication, and I actually took a communication class in college, and a lot of people say that college is useless. It isn't. You take what you can, you apply it. What you don't, you just leave it. But this I did learn in college, and it's been very, very paramount to how I run my company. So in communication, you communicate clearly, and then it's fairly simple. You just have them communicate back to you what you said. And sometimes some people might get offended, so I give them a warning before I ask them to please paraphrase what I said. I'll say, I'm gonna ask you to paraphrase what I said, and by me asking, it's not that I think you're stupid, it's just that it's the last process of proper communication, and I wanna be 100% accurate that you understand what I said. Mm-hmm. So that's how I do my communication process in the cleaning business. But it's very, very, very important because so in the beginning with my company, I started just communicating, because speed, efficiency. So you just communicate, boom. And then you check back, like a project or something or a task, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, what, are you serious? This is not what I said. Oh, I thought you said this, and this. So that's a second rule that I have in my company is never assume anything. Always be 100% accurate. So a lot of mistakes happen when an employee says, oh, well, I thought, and that's how it begins. I thought, I assumed. So then what I say, okay, so you thought, you didn't know. So why didn't you go and change it to a no instead of a thought, right?
No.
So that's another code of conduct, I guess you could call it, in my company that I have, is just never assume. And then we always paraphrase what we've said just to minimize the errors, because yes, it takes a little bit longer, but the error it could be something really bad. It could cause a bad review. It could be done so many ways that could be detrimental, but that's what I do in my company.
Well, and
piggyback what you're saying.
you've set that expectation now. It's a very clear expectation. So anyone who doesn't follow it, is, not listening to your authority.
Oh yeah, they're not gonna make it.
Yeah,
they're not gonna make it.
So, I mean, it's, but if you didn't have that expectation, if it wasn't,
it's in our culture now.
If it's not clear, so that's where, I've been very lucky not to have to manage a lot of human capital, human.
Okay. Oh my gosh, you're blessed. You're blessed.
I mean, pros and cons to every endeavor. But
I just want to say this: a business with less employees is a better business. Just put that out there.
So, and then, to kind of tie that in, never start a business. You don't have money to burn. I've done businesses.
So that's number 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so with the print shop, we got a good deal on some equipment. We had a cheap space to store it in. It was more of just like a workshop. It wasn't really a business. It was,
Yeah.
I was taking Facebook Marketplace jobs that were, easy and just once again, making some beer money. And,
Yeah.
um,
That's how it always starts, right?
it is. So then we were, finding more great deals, getting more equipment.
Exactly.
Doing
Yeah.
more jobs. And, we were doing decent. And once we moved over here, it was like all of a sudden to this warehouse that
Yeah.
we're in right now.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it was like, all right, there's overhead. Like, if I'm having to pay,
That was a surprise.
I was personally liable all of a sudden, before even, thinking about hiring another person or anything.
I hate overhead.
I was personally liable to, a mortgage payment every month. It was equivalent to
It's
my
stressful,
mortgage
right?
payment. Yeah. All of a sudden I had 2 mortgages that I had to go out and pay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which, as an entrepreneur, we've all come to terms with, not having a traditional income and not having stability.
Oh yes. We learn how to ration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but, especially when you have partners and you're in that startup mode, even with us getting all these great deals on these machines and these, this and that, my business partner had a family that he had to provide for. He had to, put food on the table. And,
That's even more stressful.
I had my own bills to pay and, so then all of a sudden you have no marketing budget. You have no, we need to take on more work. So
Well, why were you guys burning money? Like just not being frugal, not being responsible, or is it economic conditions? What happened?
I mean, it wasn't that we were burning money. It just was what I'm getting at is don't start a business unless you have enough money to live your life without it being affected. So, that's why I love side projects that grow into real businesses because, the reason they were a side
I like
project
that. I like how you merged into that. Okay.
So the reason you had a side project was because you had something else that was your main,
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're living on the teat of Uncle Sam or Mommy and Daddy, you have something else that's making you money, whether it's your 9 to 5 or, in my case, I have a lot of side projects and a lot of irons and a lot of fires that, will become bigger and better things. But I know every month I will pay my bills because I have my foundation.
Gotcha.
And then I'm building my enterprises on that foundation.
I'm gonna kind of mirror what you said to kind of understand what you said, because in the beginning you did have a side project, which was
Gems jewelry.
Gems jewelry that you were doing, right? Now moving on to the printing shop. This was more all in. You're getting a place, is getting, full involvement with capital, resources, time, everything, right? Everything's on the line.
I mean, it was meant to be a side project, but then things got real. And
Yeah.
that overhead, became real. And, having that stress, of the way I like to phrase it is staying in a state of abundance attracts abundance. When you're in a state of scarcity,
That's beautiful.
You're gonna attract scarcity. So,
you're completely right.
The fights that inevitably led to me breaking the partnership and stopping a business that had a lot of potential was there was always a need for more money and more money and more money. So then I would go out and sell, make more sales
With the printing.
Yeah, but then, there wasn't enough of the follow through of, I was having to make all these promises that then couldn't get delivered.
So if you're going to go into business and all in with overhead, make sure you have enough cash to burn and survive the cold ecosystem, right?
I mean,
unless the alternative, from what I'm getting from you, is to first do it as a side project and then run lean with little to no overhead in an abundance mode, and then kind of like shift into that abundance mode. But if you are going to go and expand and, you know, like you mentioned, get the location, have a mortgage and all these other expenses, make sure that you've already saved enough money to weather the storm, basically.
Well, and you know, I've had partners too that had lots of money that were able to, you know, fund the project, and you get a whole different set of problems there. You have to deal with, you know, egos and, you know, I
So
want.
then the fifth lesson is, I'll let you say it. How would you quote it?
I mean, I would say the fifth lesson is business partners are
No
tricky.
good?
I mean, they're tricky. You know,
Yeah.
the reason you get into a business partnership is you either need the affluence or the knowledge. You know what I mean? You either need money or skills. And you know, when you deal with people though, make sure you do things the proper way. Make sure you have an operating agreement. Make sure you know you have clear expectations, so you guys both are, you know, who are all parties are, you know, are coming into this knowing exactly what is going to happen and how that's going to affect their life.
Mm.
Because let's say, and you know, partners might even be up for the challenge, but then, you know, that meager month really hurts them. Well, when you have that operating agreement now, it's very clear what the path is for anything. You know,
Expectations, going back to
there's
expectations.
clear
Yeah.
expectations, and you know, business partners are good. They really can help you withstand a harsh environment. You know, they become, you know, any partnership is still a partnership. So they basically become like a girlfriend or a boyfriend.
Your actual girl starts getting jealous.
You hear about their day, their
Yeah.
financial problems, your financial problems, and their financial problems are commingled. It's any partnership is a partner, and you know it comes with a lot of the same difficulties and benefits that, you know, partnerships come with in, you know, a more romantic sense. But you know,
But it seems like you kind of did it right, because what I've read and heard is that when you do a partnership, they're supposed to bring something to the table that you don't have, right? A skill or money, connections, something in the business to make it work. Now, when two partners come in and they're doing the same thing or have the same set of skills, that's when problems start to arise. But it seems like your partner had a contrary skills.
I mean, I'm bouncing around multiple projects and just
Oh, okay.
some of my
Yeah.
lessons from
No, yeah,
all
I'm still
these
thinking about
projects.
the printing business, because we were talking about that.
Yeah, no, I didn't get. I mean, that's part number two.
But I think okay, so you guys did that right, but the mistake that you guys made wasn't setting everything clear from the beginning and the expectations. That's where it went wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I would say more so just that. I mean, with that particular business, it was more so the scarcity versus abundance mentality.
Mm.
And you know, my partner, you know, was going through some tough financial and life things. He was, you know, at one point was going through a divorce, and that personal stuff fuses into the business. So I guess more so what I would be getting at is do it yourself if you can.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really want a partner, you better have a good understanding what it's like to date them, because it's a big commitment.
Maybe do some speed dating first.
Yeah, well, I mean, make sure you get to know them.
Yes.
Make sure they have friends. Make sure you see the red flags and you actually listen to the red flags, because sometimes it can get real exciting to make something new, and you know, to do business and be
New is
your
always
own
exciting, yeah.
boss. And you know, there's that initial high of starting a business, and
Yes.
then there's the, you know, the operating a business.
Yes.
And you know, so I would say that's probably the big one of the five. But
So it didn't work out, obviously. That's where we're getting at. And you said there was another partnership that you had. What partnership are you talking about?
So after I shut down the print shop, I stayed in this warehouse and I started a import export business, more so importing, I guess, where we were distributing gemstones from Pakistan and Brazil.
So going back to your beginning
Yeah.
industry.
So that's where I kind of, and that'd probably be another lesson too, is if you're gonna switch industries, no, it's gonna be hard. It's sometimes it's where I'm at now in my strategic onlook into the future is vertical integration. So, I had that business that, I ended up selling.
Which one did you sell?
I mean, I sold the inventory to the partner, but I'm not trying to go into a
Yeah, no.
major.
Of the print shop, right?
No, I'm talking about the
The import exporting?
the import export. That's
Okay.
that's the one I just had where I'm gonna have to sue the partner.
Oh, you've had
Unfortunately,
quite a few businesses.
yeah.
Yes. How long did you have that business for?
That one I had for 9 months.
9 months? Did it go well? Was it going well or?
It was going well. I mean, we had a investor that wanted to come in and give us a $500,000 valuation.
Yeah.
I mean, like things were going well, but my business partner had borderline personality disorder. He had enough money. He had another rock shop that he had already done. He was starting some other ones, and he decided he would rather focus on the retail than the distribute, the wholesale sales side of things.
Let's talk about what was working in that business. Why was it successful? Why did somebody want to invest $500,000 valuation in it? Like, what were you guys doing that was working
Well, we bought the inventory at a great price.
at a great price from Pakistan, you said?
So it's first started off as us buying out a distributor of his inventory here. Then we started working with brokers in different countries, mainly Pakistan and Brazil,
How would you get the contacts with the brokers?
through the shows, especially once we started setting up at the shows.
That's beautiful.
It changed,
Yes.
it changed from a buyer to a seller mentality, or you became part of this club.
Yeah, I just want to speak on that. So, a lot of people, when they're starting a business, they're wondering like, how am I going to get started? Where am I going to meet these people? It's not, they don't even know where to start. But the best way to start is just to start, right? So when you start and you're progressing in your trajectory, different paths are going to open. You're going to meet different people, opportunities are going to go. The longer you are in the industry, the reputation that you have, the contacts that you gain, and you just, time works in favor of wealth, basically. So because you've invested in that industry, you invested time, you had your contacts, you're gaining more contacts, and that allowed you to expand and diversify, but essentially still in the same industry, but just stacking your skills
And from other interactions with my time in the industry has now led me to mining, which is another level in the vertical integration pillar. I don't know, bar.
no, exactly.
Either way, but
Yeah.
that's the next level of pretty soon here. I'm about to go spend 2 months and really dig up an existing claim that I met through just being a part of the industry. It was a guy I met at this point 7 years ago, or maybe 6 years ago, and I was a customer that became a friend that now is going to become not a business partner because I already
Learned your lesson.
So the beauty
Yeah.
the beauty of joint ventures.
Gotcha,
Sometimes
gotcha.
people, you're all drawn to each other because you all have that skill, or
It's just the like you mentioned, like the new thing, the new girlfriend. You're trying to get into a business partnership. That's comparable
well, just
metaphor.
more so joint ventures they're easier.
Well, now you've learned.
they're not commingling your finances together. They're not, you know, I will go out, I'm with one of the mining operations. I'll go out there and I'll do work and I'll contribute to the haul and I'll get a percentage of that haul. And it's just simple, it's straightforward. I don't have all the operation costs. I don't need to know the operation costs because it's the same model that a lot of the fishing boats take that, are bringing us all the salmon that we love so much is, 2 months of hard work and you get a share of the total profits. You don't have to own the boat to get that profit. The boat owners need, reliable help. So while I wouldn't per se call that a joint venture,
More like profit share
into
the
just in the sense that I'm doing this mining to help my businesses. It's a joint venture in my, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
So I'm going to be going out there and, I'm going to be bringing in a lot of those materials, and that's to be continued. The next project, never be my last project, but my favorite project, hopefully.
I think this interview is exciting with the path that you took us on. You started off in college and it started off as a side project because you wanted to help your mother out. Mm-hmm. You gained valuable skills in college that you applied at your events, and then you've invested time in the industry. You kind of deviated a little bit. You were attracted to the fire. You touched it. You got burned. You learned your lesson, and you took those lessons and you're applying it to the present self right now. You got into importing, exporting. You have experience in that. You gain contacts through the journey, which is just a result of time, right? And now you have a joint venture happening, and you're going to be mining. Like vertical. Yeah, it's a vertical integration that you're doing. And the valuable lesson, I think, from this interview is staying in your lane, right? As you notice, Kevin's receiving success from staying in his lane. What that means is in his industry, it's transforming into other opportunities, but at the end of the day, it's the compounding effect from where it started back in college doing shows and where you're at now. You deviated, you came back, and now things are going well again. Mm-hmm. I experienced the same problem with my cleaning company. We were doing a lot of move in and move out cleanings. And I had a bright idea. Well, since they're moving, why don't we provide moving services as well, right? I mean, it just made sense. What I learned is it's a new business, and a new business, like a new baby, requires a lot of attention and a lot of your time that it stole from my jealous cleaning business, my Roochii cleaning business, right? And it just didn't work. Like in theory, it should have worked, but circumstances, time, I could go on, but the interview's on you. But I'm just highlighting the lesson here. Now that I've sold the trucks, it's like, now I could focus back on Roochii cleaning, and it's evolving, right? So now we're doing a lot of social media. We're coming out with the chemical line that we're coming out with. And then we're also changing kind of the business model so it could scale, but going back to the roots of where it all started, the cleaning industry, going back to where it started, the gem business, and just a compounding effect of time and skills that you're just stacking and stacking on top of each other.
Well, and it's not to say don't fear new challenges and new mountains to climb that are a little different than what you've done. It's definitely a harder, climbing a 14er is a very different expedition than climbing Mount Everest. Granted, they're very different scales, but what I'm getting at is, I still have some of this printing equipment because, it was a fun industry. It was a fun experience in the sense that I was able to create. It was not fun when it was a bit.
Do you just keep them for like a nostalgic effect? You just like to look at them and it gives you like a feeling?
So now I work with artists.
It's a deal.
Well, no, I mean, I work with artists and I allow them, or I help them get their art into, affordable mediums.
Yeah, I see you got art right here. Yeah.
So I work with a couple artists, and we are really pushing, there's inherent, everything I do has a purpose. I do believe in charity work and everything like that, but it became more fun when I went back to the roots of just creating. And now whenever I have, a business need, I have access to that industry, and I know better about pricing and who to go to when I need, like I said, printing's not done by anyone. No, it's all done by subcontractors.
Yeah.
I mean, which is someone, but what I'm getting at is the person you're buying your prints from, probably,
Let's support your local business.
so they can sub it to a different local.
The small one. Go to the beginning.
They're subbing it too, if they're smart.
Nah.
But no, I appreciated this interview, and I think there'll be more to come. And I didn't even tell you about the merchandising business that I had in tangent with my print shop. So
We could do a separate interview and talk about that. Maybe a Zoom call because I'm going to be in Thailand for about 2 months. Yes.
yeah, maybe I'll have to come out to Thailand.
Yeah. Come and visit anytime. Yeah. I'm getting like a little condo there. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm going to be doing the same thing in a Bangkok version.
Nice.
So I'm going to be interviewing business owners and cleaning their businesses and doing the whole thing like that. And I'm also just going to be interviewing business owners that don't have a business location, kind of like, you do have a location, but we're not going to go in there and clean.
No.
Yeah, so it's still going on there.
If you ever want to clean this place, let me know.
Oh, this is a big project, buddy.
No.
Thank you for the interview. It was a pleasure. I just, can't wait to see how the mining's gonna go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna go great. It sounds like it's gonna go great. It sounds like you have all the fundamental skills, the skills that you stacked to make it to that level.
I mean, we're getting there. I'm still 28. I got a lot to learn.
Oh, you're still 28. Yeah.
But we're getting there.